Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Star Watch, which is a weekly astrological transit report for Wednesday, November 9th. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Jane. Thank you all so much for being here. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's coming up for us this week. Now, we don't really have any huge events technically until next week when we have Venus and Mercury moving into Sagittarius, and then we have the activation of Sagittarius season and then the new moon in Sagittarius. So there's going to be all eyes on Sagittarius coming up here next week. But this week, as we finish up Scorpio season, eclipse season, everything is closing out. This week should feel like a little bit of a breather, okay? Now, we do have the sun sitting at 17 degrees. Mercury is now separating from the sun, meaning it's on the other side. It's starting to move ahead. Both of these at 17 degrees coming into a square as of late today, early tomorrow, into a square with Saturn at 18 degrees, 51 minutes. But as we make our way on into Friday, that will already be done and over with. So that intensity of the eclipse, which happened over here at 16 degrees of Taurus, the intensity of that eclipse is starting to subside, although today and tomorrow there may still be a little bit of a heightened tension until the sun and Mercury officially make their way off of Saturn, okay? I know that we had elections here yesterday. I know we're still trying to get the results of that. No surprise that we don't have the results. I think similar things happened in 2020. Uranus energy was involved. I think there was a Mercury station as well. So when we have Mercury and Uranus in an opposition, it makes sense that there is a technological problem, especially with Mars in Gemini, like when it just comes to, or Mars retrograde in Gemini rather, it just kind of comes down to like, it's no big surprise that we don't have the final results quite yet. But hopefully within the next couple of days we will. There may be some people here in the US that throw a big fit, maybe the media or one or the side, depending on what happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of an uproar, but generally speaking, I think for us in our more individual lives, like if we're not part of that world, which probably very few of us actually are, chances are our own individual lives are just going to start to come off of that intensity, and we may feel a week of ease, a week of focus, a week where things can finally start running really smoothly. We can see a lot of progress, and we actually can have a lot of, items checked off of our to-do list, and I think that for many people, and one of the messages that really came through for me with this whole eclipse season was like, we need to really commit to taking ourselves to where we think we need to go in terms of our finances, in terms of our relationships, in terms of our families and our living environment and our lifestyles and just all the more material, more tangible things. Someone had commented on one of my videos. They said, I love doing things and emotional fulfillment is great, but it's only great to a certain point. If I don't see the external effects, it tends to kind of reduce my emotional fulfillment. Like I could be the happiest person in the world, but if I don't see the results out there, if I don't have improvements in my life, sometimes that kind of hampers the excitement that I may have. And I think that's true for a lot of people, and so now we really want to focus on the real stuff, the real reality of our lives, visible, tangible, touchable changes. All right. And whatever it is that we're needing to do, the actions we need to take, chances are you have some kind of a strategy in mind in terms of how to get from point A to point B. And I think once Sagittarius season really activates, first we have Mercury and Venus coming in. I'll talk more about this next week on the 16th and 17th. And then on the 22nd, the sun comes into Sagittarius. And so this is the time when that expansive energy is just like, okay, it's time. It is time to, take flight, if you will. And so that's going to be the time when we start to take the big leaps. We start to take things in big chunks instead of little baby steps. And I think that as we go through Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius season, there is so much more support for those big leaps and taking off those big chunks, right? We get to kind of really bite off more than we can chew because we can actually chew it at this point. Now, as of the next couple of days, the moon is going to be coming into a conjunction with Mars retrograde over here in Gemini on Friday. And then she's going to make her way into Cancer, which of course is her sign of rulership. Now, this may be a time where we're going to want to be a little bit more in our private spaces, our private world, but it's not going to be non-productive. It's just maybe we're not really going to want to be sharing all that much. Whenever there's all this water in the chart, we've got all this Scorpio, we've got Jupiter and Neptune over here, we have Cancer moon. Whenever we have all this water energy going on, we do tend to go inside of ourselves. We tend to kind of pull into our quiet realm, right? The places where we have a little bit more control so that we can really process and kind of delineate what's going on inside so that we can have a more clear direction or a more clear vision so that we know how to take these steps forward. And this is going to be a great week to just sort of recalibrate before Sagittarius season really hits us. And a beautiful thing too is the fact that the Sun, Mercury, and Venus throughout the course of the week in their own time are going to be activating through a trine, right? This is a really harmonious aspect, trine with Neptune and Jupiter. The reason why this is so great is this is what's going to give us hope, right? This is what is going to instill in us the possibility that we can do these big things. I don't remember which reading it was. They are all blurring together now at this point for me, but it's like we can go do hard things, right? Like we can look at a task that may have debilitated us in the past, that may have made us feel very afraid and scared, and we may have been resisting it because we just simply didn't feel ready. Well, now with the energy of Scorpio, which is highly determined and extremely ambitious, right? This is Mars energy, guys. Like we can't escape that. And I know we want to talk about Pluto as being the ruler of Scorpio as well. This is a time to rise to power. This is what happens during Scorpio season is we have to confront within ourselves all of the things that we've been trying to preserve. Like there's kind of a desire here within Scorpio to preserve the innocence. We try to preserve the good, to preserve the balance that was established throughout Libra season. But that's not what Scorpio does. Scorpio destroys that, right? We have to go through a destruction process so that it can be rebuilt as we enter into Sagittarius and Capricorn seasons. One of the reasons why Scorpio is so challenging and why people who are born with a lot of Scorpio placements, they have like such a bad rap today in modern trendy astrology all over TikTok and social media is simply because they are fixed and they don't want the bad to happen, right? And so in light of things falling apart, they try to hang on more tightly to the known and to the things that are balanced and the things that are calibrated in their lives. And yet at the same time, life doesn't slow down for you. The world doesn't slow down. The world doesn't stop just because you want to preserve something that's good. Something is needing to change. The demand for expansion. Really what's happening, it's like the push-pull between Libra, which wants everything like this, and Sagittarius, which wants everything to completely blow up. And here's Scorpio sandwiched in the middle being like, oh, but it's comfortable here with the Libran balance and the Libran calibration, but oh, I also do want to expand. And so you're kind of caught between two worlds here in Scorpio. You can feel completely torn apart. And yet we know that expansive time is coming. We know that it is an inevitability for us. Therefore, we have to take it in stride. The people that embrace it are the people that will have their lives blow up and they will be able to take those huge leaps. And those huge leaps may come with their own unique sets of challenges, but there will be growth and there will be improvements in the tangible world, especially as we hit Capricorn season, which is another cardinal season, of course, ruled by Saturn, which is extremely physical. Saturn is about the physicality of life. So it wants to have the things even more than I think that even like in Taurus, okay? Capricorn wants the things. And so now we have to do hard things, okay? We have to bite the bullet and we have to just accept that life is wanting us to grow and it's assisting us in our growth, okay? So that's kind of where we're headed. But this week we get to recalibrate and we get to kind of enjoy the benefits. And I don't say this about Neptune very often because I personally have a very challenged relationship with Neptune. It is opposing my natal sun right now and has been against either my sun or my Mercury, which as a Mercury ruled sign is very important for me for the past like 3 to 4 years now. And it has seriously kicked my butt. I do not like Neptune energy. And whenever Neptune comes out to play, I'm always like, oh man, like here we go. Here's Neptune, right? But there are good things about it. And even I must admit that there is a lot of hope and a lot of magic and a lot of healing and a lot of higher consciousness that does come with Neptune energy. And this is the boost that we are going to need. We need to be able to believe in ourselves right now, because it's the belief in ourselves that is going to motivate us to do the big things or to do the hard things, to push beyond the comfortable life, to push beyond the comfortable self-concept as well. Some of us have very clearly defined self-concepts, right? We have this notion like this is who I am, and others don't. And if you have a very defined sense of who you are, this is going to be even that much more challenging for you. If you don't have a very strongly defined sense of self, this can feel a little bit overwhelming, but I actually think you're a little bit more flexible in terms of like becoming something else, because you're like, well, I never really am a single stationary person anyway, so I may as well go into the next thing. It's kind of like shape shifting a little bit. But it doesn't mean everyone's going to have to do something challenging. Everyone is going to have to do something that pushes past their comfort zone for the sake of the changes that they want. Mars retrograde, though, he is offering still, right? Because he's still in his square over here, right? He's in his square with Neptune. He's not in a super tight square with Jupiter, but I guess technically, yeah, he is. It depends on what size of an orb you want to use. Again, he's moving away, so he's going backwards. So he's actually coming back into a much tighter square with Neptune at 22 degrees. He's moving further away from the 29th degree, which is Jupiter. But he still does have a little bit of influence here. But nonetheless, the retrograde of Mars is allowing us to rewrite that narrative, to rewrite that story within our minds. Because of course, how we think, Gemini, Mercury, how we think is so important. And as Mercury moves into Sagittarius next week, remember, he's going to be in detriment officially. So he's not super strong over here in Sagittarius. And that may be a little bit challenging, but again, it's asking us to push past the boundaries. It's saying, we know you like to just think on kind of a small level, because Mercury is very much about our smaller mind to a degree. It's our more conscious, logical voice inside our head. That's Mercury. But he's coming into Jupiter's house now, and he's saying, all right, well, you got to get bigger. And this is what I've been saying all year, really since the nodes entered into Scorpio and Taurus. You have to think bigger. You have to ask for more. And as the node moves into Aries next year, that's going to be even more pronounced, even more, because now it's about yourself. North Node in Aries, are you kidding me? This is about you, and it's going to be about you. And now's the time we're being prepared for the nodal shift next year. And what we see for ourselves, what we want, it's got to get bigger. Mercury comes into Sagittarius quite often, every year. This is not a new thing. It's not a unique thing, but it is a unique environment. Every environment is always unique. So right now we have to really overcome our fears with the South Node in Scorpio, and we have to confront those aspects of ourselves so that we do not stay stuck and we don't stay stuck in the past. The world is evolving, and when Pluto comes into Aquarius next March, it's going to evolve so fast. Technologically, like we think we saw a lot technologically between the year 2000 and the year 2022. Like, don't even get me started. I mean, the exponential growth, it's just like our minds can't even fathom where we're going to be 20 years from now. Like into the year 2000, you couldn't even imagine what like an iPhone was going to be, right? That like rocked the whole world. So what else is coming down the line, right? So technologically, everything is going to start evolving. So we want to make sure that we do not get left behind. Yeah, it's kind of a cool time, but it is a good week to just like get on board with yourself, get on board with yourself, get on board with your dreams, get on board with the greater lifestyle that you're seeking, and just say, all right, if this is my life, then I'm just going to play the game. I'm really going to get in the game now. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines anymore. I'm not going to think my way through it. I'm not going to feel my way through it. I'm going to do my way through it. Okay? All right, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much. You guys know I love you. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.